Before we start today's episode, I'd like to give a shout out to Kelsey Rose, who's been supporting us on Patreon for quite some time now. I recently went back through and was checking in to see who we owed episode dedications to, and it's funny, we haven't done one for like a year, and the last time we did one, I also said that it's been a really long time, but here it is. Thanks a lot, Kelsey. You rock. Thanks for your support. Enjoy the episode, guys.
From Provo, Utah, this is the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast with your hosts, Joseph DeGolier and Kaleb Schweitz. This is Ultima Final Fantasy. Welcome to another episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the ultimate, super lately recorded Final Fantasy podcast. I am Joe.
I am Kaleb.
And today, ladies and gentlemen, we are reviewing Final Fantasy XII Revenant Wings.
Oh, fuck yes we are. It's been a while.
I'm Captain Bosch.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done a proper review episode. That is true.
The 11 stuff was just all over the place, and
Kingsglaive.
Kingsglaive, yes, Jesus. Kingsglaive.
Yeah, it's been a little while. We're a little rusty when it comes to like official review episodes.
Yeah,
but I think we can get through this. I think we can do this, Schweiss. And as it is a review episode, for those who are listening to this for the first time, we usually do news and other things, but we don't do that during review episodes because we want to talk about the game only.
Damn right we do.
We want to give this game a special episode all on its own. This
lovely
Warcraft
edition.
3 sequel to Final Fantasy XII.
Is that what you wrote?
No.
Oh,
that's not what I wrote.
That's seriously one of the reviews that I pulled up. The second
really?
opinion thing. Yeah, that's exactly what it's titled.
Oh my god,
Warcraft 3.
That's bizarre. It's like we're on the same wavelength.
I know.
Yeah.
It's all right. This is getting
all right.
gray
Well,
here.
I say we just
do some plugs
before we hop right into it. Let's do some plugs. You can go to facebook.com/Ultima Final Fantasy. You can go to twitch.tv/Ultima Final Fantasy. See us do the episodes live
right now. In fact, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right now.
You can tweet me at Joseph DeGolier.
Me and sort of the show at UFF Podcast.
You can join our forums at ultimafinalfantasy.com.
We got a great
website.
spoiler-heavy Final Fantasy 15 thing on there that's just been nagging at both of us. It's got a lot of activity.
I see the thread,
and
I'm like, I can't read it. I just can't.
The recent replies, it's just... I'm like, no, this is how I find new stuff.
But anyway, that's our biggest hub as far as like, talking with our listeners is concerned. So if you want to talk to us directly or have your questions answered on the show, that's the place to go.
Right. We also have a PSN chat that we do. If any of you guys are interested in joining that hyperactive community, feel free to just send one of us a tweet or something like that, and we'll get you added. So.
And we also host some other shows, Nude Clan, Godzilla Podcast, Super Sexy Swinging Fan Fiction. It's all great.
It is. It is really good. So before we get into this, though, I do want to still cover what we've been doing in FF15. So we still do that section.
Do we?
Where are you? I think so, yeah.
I don't think we do.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, how much have you played?
Like 2 hours.
Okay. I only played a little bit, too.
Okay, cool.
There you go. We're done. 15.
And it's great.
It's fun.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the development of Final Fantasy XII Revenant Wings. Final Fantasy XII Revenant Wings is a real-time tactical RPG. So it's sort of like a real-time strategy game, like Warcraft, as we just said before. But it has some RPG elements. It was created as a joint venture with Square Enix and a company that kind of specializes in small Japanese games that I couldn't really find that much information for. That company is called Think and Feel. It was directed by Motomo Toriyama.
That sounds like a really...
it sounds familiar.
Familiar name, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's one of the cutscene directors in Bahamut Lagoon and Final Fantasy VII. That's where he got started, and then he became the director for Final Fantasy X-2.
Oh!
That was his game directing debut.
Okay.
And later, he would go on to direct the 13 trilogy.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. That does sound right.
Yeah.
I was like, that 10-2? I wouldn't remember. I wouldn't remember anything from 10-2.
God. Anyway, the game, a sequel to FF12 and part of the Ivalice Alliance, and I think it was the first game that was kind of made and titled as part of an Ivalice Alliance, like as part of.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like they finally branded all these games that took place in the same universe.
Okay, that's good.
It was released on April 26, 2007 on the Nintendo DS in Japan, and an increased difficulty version was brought to North America on November 20th, and other regions, which I'm not sure if they got the difficult version or what, they got it on February 15th, 2008.
This game is so easy, but I don't know. I don't know what difficulty.
This game was so easy, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah? Easy peasy, right?
Yeah, they don't know the word.
Motherfucking
They don't know what the word difficulty means over there. It's a big barrier.
The game was aimed to be for non-Final Fantasy players, with sort of this simpler combat system influenced by games such as Warcraft, StarCraft, and Age of Empires especially. The decision, of course, to make the game more difficult in North America was due to what they said was North America's long experience with real-time strategy games that Japan didn't necessarily have. So they made it difficult for us North American players because apparently we would be used to this type of game.
Okay.
Which I guess there may be some truth in that.
Isn't StarCraft huge in Japan?
I've never heard that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's Korea.
Or Korea, yeah. Usually with League of Legends, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it is Korea. I don't know.
In the end,
there.
Somewhere in East Asia.
Yeah, somewhere out there.
In the end, Revenant Wings would prove to be a pretty successful game with over 1 million copies sold. It was like 1.04 million.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Like, considering.
With generally good critical reception, adding up to an 81 out of 100 on Metacritic. And I think it got like a 32 out of 40 on Famitsu.
Wow, a
which is
lower-
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Famitsu even had to drop it.
I don't think this was ever like one of the big Final Fantasy games.
No, this is one of the ones that I honestly had heard almost the least about.
Yeah, I remembered when it came out. I do remember that. And I remember going, oh yeah, there's a sequel to Final Fantasy XII on the DS. That's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, and I was like,
And that was pretty much it.
I don't think I
right?
want to play that. Yeah.
But yeah, other than that information, there's not really that much out there on the making of this game since it was basically made by another company. Once again, as a joint venture between Square Enix and them. So
Right, they kind of got someone who is maybe a little more familiar with that sort of game style.
yeah.
Which is acceptable. I mean, do what you're good at. That's what you should do. You shouldn't try to do everything.
Yeah. Anyway.
Or even this sometimes, I felt.
You want to talk about story?
Yeah, let's hit it up.
So, Revenant Wings picks up about 1 year after the events of FF12. Now, official Sky Pirate himself.
So they say.
Probably the gayest title ever.
Sky Pirate.
Sky Pirate sounds like ass pirate to me. It just doesn't sound right. And the fact that Vaughn has his little vest, Sky Pirate just doesn't sound cool.
You know, it sounded cool.
What's the cool factor on Sky Pirate for you? Because I never thought it was cool.
You probably get laid a lot. I mean, Balthier definitely does.
Like an actual pirate is cool. But
Balthier
to
probably...
say the word sky before pirate is...
Balthier probably has to do penicillin shots every day or he'll just fucking die. That guy is getting
Yeah, okay,
some.
all right. That's a good point, yeah.
Like, that's probably why he's so pissy all the time, because he's just, like, in constant pain, because he just has to accept everything that comes across his way, especially that Fran. And, I mean, she's sort of rabbit, so...
Or maybe he never gets the Fran, and it's always like a...
He needs to get everybody else.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Maybe he's a womanizer because Fran is just fucking cock-blocking him the whole time.
Yeah, I think it might be.
I think
It might be.
Yeah.
But yeah, every time
deep here.
Vaughn says Sky Pirate, even in FF12, I never really felt right with that phrase. I want to be a Sky Pirate. I just always felt like that. Not as cool as, I don't know, maybe other people think it's cool. I don't really think it's that cool of a title, you know?
Yeah.
Pirate is cool, and you could just be a pirate on an airship. I don't think you need to call yourself a Sky Pirate.
Yeah, that's
it's
fair.
A dumb little thing, but anyway, Vaughn flies with Pinello on their own airship, basically, and they're seeking treasure. But when they go after these couple of crystals in this ancient structure, the ship that he was flying, which was not the Strahl, Balthier has the Strahl back. The ship is lost after it collapses around them, and Vaughn and Pinello have to escape with Balthier and Fran on the Strahl. Not long after, they spot kind of a lonely or derelict airship that seems to respond to the stolen treasure, which were these like magical crystals. So Vaughn, Pinello, and two newcomers named Kites and Philo.
The Kites was in the game in 12.
Oh, was he? Oh, yeah.
He was a
That's
small
right.
character.
Fuck, yeah, I forgot.
I remember
Anyway,
all.
they kick out the old bounty hunter that was flying the ship and take the airship for themselves. What was the airship called again? It was like the Badia?
Galanthos, something like that.
Something G, something. So the airship responds to the crystals, takes them accidentally to this new place called the Peruma Lemures or whatever. I can't fucking pronounce it. And it's on this like new cocoon-like world or like a floating continent sort of situation. At least that's what it seemed like to me. And there they meet up with Leoid, who I just called Lloyd, despite his name definitely not being spelled that way. It just looks like it. Leod.
Yeah, it's freaky. I don't think
Someone's going to get us on that thing. Well, I'm just going to call him Lloyd. Sorry, guys. Who is part of a race of people fighting with the Sky Pirates up there, recruited by this person named the Judge of Wings, who's trying to steal their Orsight and other treasure. So our heroes go to confront the Judge of Wings, wanting to help Leoid's race.
Yeah.
But they're stopped and receive a vision of Balthier confronting the judge. They then resort to getting information out of Vaughn's friend Rickon, but when that doesn't pan out, so he makes you do like this whole entire challenge thing, and then Rickon has no information for you. It's really lame.
Yeah.
The party decides to go after the judge's espers.
Oh, is that when you guys, we did that fight where they would like, I bet you we can kill more than you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, that dude and that chick, they were the ones who, I don't know if you did this in 12, there was a running mini game where you'd like race them around the town.
I did do that.
Yeah, that was, I think that was those people, yeah. Yeah, I know. I was like, fucking you guys again? Oh, God.
Oh, so when Belias, the first ones they fight, the first Esper they fight of the judges is defeated, the judge then summons Bahamut to destroy the land, basically, and it traps the gang on the island. So, on an island that's now been created by Bahamut. So, stranded, our heroes meet an undead Esper searching for his lost lover, and his name is Velas. Unfortunately, Velas is taken over by the Judge of Wings, who we find out was the lost lover, and whose name is Midia, I think?
Yes, Midia. Yeah.
So, Judge of Wings is a woman, which came as a surprise to me.
I totally thought chick.
I
was like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you have to defeat Velas. But found by Balthier and Fran, the group discovers an Orlith and are thrust into battle with the Esper Medius and the Judge of Wings, whose name, once again, is Medea. And I think I just keep on calling her Judge of Wings in this write-up. So the baddies flee after defeat, but suddenly Balthier turns on the group and destroys the Orlith they were trying to protect.
Spoiler!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they know before we do a review that it's a spoiler review. Come on. So, what did you think at that point when Balthier kind of turned on the group?
I was kind of pissed, but then I was like, nah, he's coming back.
I remember you told me, you were like, "Have you gotten to this part yet? You're going to be really pissed off."
Yeah, I was like, come on, what is this? Like he's like
Balthier betrayal.
He's like, back up, bitch, and he shoots you, and I'm like, fine. And then you fight him, and he's a fucker, dude.
Yeah,
he's a little bastard in this fight.
So, destroying this Orlith throws the party into an illusion.
Ooh.
Or like a shared dream.
Tricks it for
or
whores,
something. And in this illusion, we find the Aegeal, which is Lloyd's race. They have been slowly sucked dry of their anima, which I sort of assume is some... What the fuck was that?
It's a drop.
Oh, which I sort of assume is some kind of soul. Like their anima is like the people's soul of some kind. I'm not sure. And the Judge of Wings has been reaping this anima using the Orosites, So that's why she was trying to get at the Orocytes all the time, because she wanted the energy or whatever from it. And she was taking it to her master, which is the god Fathanos. And it turns out Balthier has actually done the right thing by destroying the Orocyte. And they find that out in their little dream sequence. That's all of Chapter 8.
Yeah. Chapter 8 was weird.
So upon awaking, the party enlists the help of Bosch and Ash.
Oh, yeah.
Who just randomly show up in the end of the game. And they go defeat the Judge of Wings one last time, and then follow her to defeat Fathanos and release the Anima back to the Aegil. Schweiss, what did you think of the story of Final Fantasy XII Revenant Wings?
Well, I feel like the story was, I don't know, it was probably about as good as it could have been. We're dealing with the game here that is a sequel to Final Fantasy XII, which is not known for its great story. It's a very sparsely laid out story that's very political.
Very political, and it's, in the English language version especially, it's kind of veiled under this
Old English.
At least half of the cutscenes are veiled under this sort of Old English that I think the first time I played this game was probably hard for me to follow.
I would probably say the same for me. And it's tough to come back from that. I mean, and the game before 12, I would argue, doesn't have a very strong story. When I think of 12, I think of a lot of fond things, but it's never storyline. And as far as
12
the events
on this playthrough, on the second playthrough, as we've been going through this podcast, I think it was stronger than what I thought the first time.
And especially the second half. It's 12's last bit is amazing. And this story, it doesn't really take things to a different level. Everyone's sort of moved on from the events of 12, but they don't really seem like they've grown as characters, and I don't think there's a whole lot of character growth within this necessarily. I do like Vaughn and Penelo more in this than I do in 12, but that's mostly because I feel like they don't belong in 12, because they were shoo-in characters at the last second to appeal to a younger audience.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, because we were all playing teen games when we were 15, and I liked their characters more in this one. The banter that they had was kind of fun. Bosch, which is my favorite character, and Balthier, those two are like the bomb from 12. They were a little odd in this one. Like, Bosch was just there, and it was at the very tail end of the game he shows up with Ash, and they're great. I loved having them in my party, but I didn't really dig the storyline that they had. I didn't feel like there was very much character progression in the game necessarily, and it serves its purpose well enough, but I don't know. I wasn't really feeling it too much. The Judge of Wings stuff was cool. The Aegil stuff was kind of cool.
Yeah, the lore stuff I thought was cool.
Yeah,
so
same
the
as
lore
12,
that
then.
we explored in this game, I thought was, that's kind of cool lore. But I have to say that I don't think. I mean, we're reading this in dialogue boxes in this game, and of course, Final Fantasy XII was voice acted, so we have the voice of the characters in our head, and I could never really match the voice of the characters to the dialogue that I was reading in this game. And I always thought that from the beginning of the game, I was like, you could take any Final Fantasy game, any group of character from any Final Fantasy game, after they've defeated whatever, and you could legitimately do almost the same plot.
Yeah.
And almost the same dialogue, and it would seem just as fitting. This is a very flat game with flat characters that don't even have interesting or uniquely written dialogue to differentiate Balthier from Fran. It's like you could I felt like you could take out characters, put in different characters, and nothing would change.
Yeah.
This game, story-wise, especially when it came to character interactions with each other, I almost think the story was there as an excuse to make the game what it is, the strategy game.
Yeah, I did enjoy the stuff with the Aegil and shit like that. I thought that was cool. Saving Lloyd's people. That was, all of that stuff was fun, and I liked.
Yeah, but Lloyd could be in a totally. If you had the characters from Final Fantasy VIII get sucked onto a new continent,
it could be the same
thing. It could be the
yeah.
exact same fucking story.
Yeah, and that is problematic with this, and that's kind of why, I don't know, it just seems like one of those games that Square was like, oh, let's let's experiment with something.
It didn't feel especially organic to the world of 12. The first thing it does is take you outside of the world of 12 and let's go to this floating continent or whatever it was that you've never heard of. And so you do that, and then it's just now there's a story about these Agile people and this thing called the Judge of Wings.
Yeah, it was cool bringing a judge back. I enjoy those guys in Final Fantasy XII, and I think they bring a lot to the story. And I did like the romance thing between her and what's his face, Philathanos or whatever. I don't know how to say it, but that's the weird. That's the weird thing is we're playing a Final Fantasy again that doesn't have dialogue in it. It's funky. It's strange, man. It's been a while.
You mean voice acting?
Yeah, voice acting.
Yeah, they all have dialogue in it.
Well, no, I'm just kidding.
Including the FF1. Yeah,
very little, but yes.
So yeah, I think the story is kind of flat. You're right. There is no character growth or anything like that. I just think it's besides the dream sequence right after Bosch.
Yeah, that part's really cool.
That is probably the high point of the entire game as far as plot is concerned. Besides that, it's pretty uneventful, and you just kind of go along with it to get to the next mission.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, there were a few lines that Fran and Balthier, some of their exchanges, I could see those characters saying those things, but for the most part, I agree. It's just dialogue, like they just wrote it, and no one ever who was a part of it really checked into 12 and like saw, hey, what are these characters? What would they do? I didn't really feel immersed in the game like I did, like I was hoping to with the story of Final Fantasy XII getting its own spin-off. So not the strong point, I would say, not story wise.
Definitely not. Yeah, but the dream sequence is cool, right?
Yeah. And again, the FF12, the reason why the story isn't as well loved is because it is very lore heavy, and this game does kind of dabble in that a little bit, but it's new lore, and I think it's fine. But the biggest disappointment for sure, definitely for me, is the lack of the characters developing really in any discernible way throughout the game. They just kind of do their thing. I mean, Lloyd develops, I guess, because he becomes more human. He like begins to understand the emotions that people have. When before he was just like this emotionless dude and didn't understand sadness or pain or whatever. When people die, he was just like, oh, they're just dead. That's just how it is. So that part was cool, but I don't know. I kind of wish I would have seen a little more from the characters I came to know and love from 12. And
I agree. I was surprised there was no voice acting in it, frankly. I mean, we had a couple CGI cutscenes, one of which we'll talk about in a second.
Oh, yes, we will.
But yeah, I was kind of surprised that they weren't kind of the same. I don't know. I'm surprised they didn't treat it like an actual sequel to FF12. They didn't treat it like 10-2.
Yeah. No, they did not.
As much as 10-2 shits on 10, it is a sequel to 10.
It is, yeah. And I would say this one doesn't really ruin 12 in any way. I don't think it affects it as a whole. For me, they needed a world to put a game like this in, and they chose Ivalice because it's massive.
Exactly. That's exactly what they did. They just chose Ivalice to put this plot about the Agile. And,
it totally could have been any other game in the series.
Anything.
And that kind of that gives it an uninspired feel, for sure.
Are you telling me the game seems flat?
A little bit, yeah. A little bit. It is 3D, but...
Yeah, okay. All right, that's fair. So the one scene that I couldn't remember what part of the plot it was in when I was doing this plot write-up. There's this one scene that we have to talk about.
Yeah.
It's Penelo, and I can't remember why the fuck she was doing this.
She's dancing. Okay, here's what happens. Penelo, throughout the story, Vaughn's got it hard for her, right? Just like he did the whole time he was in Final Fantasy XII.
Sort of. It felt more platonic in 12, but...
Maybe it was a little bit more. In this game, though, he wants it, right? He's getting up there in age. He's like, all right, now I'm 17. All I want to do...
Ash is taken.
Yeah, Ash is totally taken. Fran, yeah, definitely. Fran wouldn't. Come on, it's Vaughn. There's no way. Remember the age scene in 12? Remember that fun little age scene where he asks how old Fran is? That was the last straw. He's never going to get into that. So he's got it out for her, and he's kind of like passively, oh man, I like Penelo a lot, but he doesn't want to say anything about it. And Penelo, when we meet the guy who's like the manifestation of Philathanos.
Velas.
Yeah, Velas. When we meet Velas, Fran like dances for him, and the dancer class is something
Was it for him. Oh,
Yeah.
I just remember the dance.
I think she might have danced for Vaughn in the end. I can't remember exactly who that cutscene was for, but she starts dancing and it like cheers everybody up. Everyone's like, "Yeah,
she's
dance."
doing like a belly dance.
Yeah,
like,
and her
from
costume,
Russia with Love.
her costume in this game is gross, dude. We're talking like crotch there's like 2 inches of fabric covering the crotch, and then just nothing for the belly.
So
it's bizarre and
very low cut.
I was honestly like kind of grossed out during that cutscene.
Yeah,
I was
too,
dude.
and I was like on the train doing that part.
And you're like all hiding.
I had to hide the screen. Yeah, dude, it was fucking like. First off, the art style, which we'll talk about later, is very
childish.
cartoony.
Yeah, it takes about 6 years off of just about everybody in the game.
Yeah, so Penella looks like she's 12.
Yeah,
and she's doing this very
sensual, almost.
This very bodily dance, the belly dance, right? And I don't know, like it seemed to sexualize her in a way that made me very, very uncomfortable.
Wait, so are you saying a Japanese game sexualized an underage girl? Is that what you're telling me right now?
You know, it's rare.
Is that?
But it seems to be the case.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to confer with some others on this, but
anyway, that
may be onto something.
Not a great part of the game and kind of an embarrassing part.
Yeah, it was definitely bizarre.
Yeah.
Not big on that, but the cutscenes. I think the cutscenes looked pretty good in it. So, like, I don't know if they added to the story necessarily, but it kind of felt like a similar sort of a break, and that's something that we've talked about with the series as a whole. Is getting to a cutscene. It's like, yeah, moving on. Story's happening. Shit's going down. And this game did have that, which was satisfying. But that's the one that stands out, and that's the one that makes me uncomfortable. So I don't know. Even the cutscenes were kind of just kind of tossed in. I almost felt like no.
Well, you want to talk about something that was less tossed in, like the gameplay?
We should.
So, Schweiss, if you were to explain how this game is played to someone who's never played it, which is honestly most of our audience, it seems like this is one of the rarer Final Fantasy games that people have tried out, as you know, as far as I know and have heard. Right? How would you explain what the gameplay is like in this?
All right, so it's sort of like a MOBA mixed with an RTS game, I would say. MOBA in the way that you have...
MOBAs come from RTS games, so...
They do, yeah.
It's in that realm.
They literally do. The first MOBA was a mod to an RTS game. And it's... Okay, so it's RTS in the way that you're moving your characters around, you're selecting different buffs, you gotta kind of come in from a tactical standpoint, throw garbage units away, to have your better units in the back kind of doing damage from a distance sort of a thing. And it's MOBA in the way that the garbage units that you're throwing out, you summon almost like minions in League of Legends or Dota, and they basically, for the most part, they're kind of arrow fodder in this game. They do damage. They have elements to them. I mean, we've got fire, ice, lightning, all of that shit. And you can even get some carbuncles that'll throw up some healing spells and some protect and shell. And yeah, it's like a MOBA RTS. I don't know, that's the closest thing I can say. It's very very bizarre.
I mean, it's sort of like you use your stylus to select everybody just like you would with a mouse
in like Age of Empires or
Warcraft 3 or League of Legends or something like that. And you move around your units just like that, and you do these tactical missions where you either have to kill a certain dude, or you have to go take over someone's nexus, or, the equivalent to that is the crystal, right?
Yeah.
So basically taking over someone's nexus from League of Legends, which is kind of like their base crystal where everybody spawns from.
Right, yeah.
And then there's also these spawn points, just like in freaking Dota or League of Legends, that you have to go and You have to kill those too. Only it's not all the same thing. It's like different missions have different things that you have to do. But, it's got these big different maps that you have to deal with the new strategies every time you get to a new mission. That's pretty much how the game is played. There's different types of espers. So there's like, it's using all the elemental stuff from the Final Fantasy games. So and usually creatures from Final Fantasy XII's universe. For the most part,
they're bizarre looking though.
Some of them are very different.
We do have the Treants, and there's a couple others that come to mind, but the little bunny dudes, the 12 love to throw in everywhere.
Of course, unlike those MOBA games or whatever, you spawn everybody manually. So you have to get to a spawn point, and then you have to sync with the spawn point before the enemy team does, and then you get to start. You choose the espers that you can spawn. You have so many like points that you can take up as far as espers.
And the tiers, the espers are tiered, so you get like tier 1, 2, 3, and then the summon, and each one of them costs more and more. And you also get a leveling up system. You gain little crystals throughout each fight, and essentially the longer the fight goes, the more you're going to have, and you can use those to level up the individual espers. So if you know that the ranged guys are really kicking ass in a certain fight, you can bump those guys' stats up a little bit so that they're able to do more damage, have a little more sustainability. Normally with that, though, the crystal thing, I just pumped it into the summon, dude. I made the summon fucking godly.
I did the same thing. Your big guy, your rank 3. Which I mostly use Ifrit throughout the game, although later on I'd start using Ramu and stuff like that.
Yeah, Belias was fucking awesome.
Yeah. Your rank 3 guy is almost like a second team. Like, he is that powerful.
Yeah.
And so often you would have to take him to do a different task, like to take care of some little dudes or whatever, while your main team goes and takes care of something else. At least that's what my strategy was kind of.
Yeah.
The third strategy is you have your dudes, which is like Von Pinella or whatever, and they're usually like the powerful guys, just like
in the normal games.
In MOBA games.
Yeah.
And then you could just go and you can control your espers and you can have them go and kamikaze certain things.
Yeah.
As well. And I had to do that for one fight in particular. Although I know that for other people, that's a very common way of going throughout this game.
Yeah, the fight with
Midia
is the one I had to use that heavily on.
That's the one I had to use it on as well.
Dude, basically what I ended up doing for this fight, guys, is I would summon 4 or 5 bombs, and I would go 1 bomb in, and then do the other 4 bombs going in, and I just do the explode move on them. Because, I mean, the bombs have their regular little attack where they're just shouldering them or whatever the fuck bombs do, running into them and shit. And you also have a special move that's almost like the spell they get to cast, which is explode. So I'd send the first bomb into his death. He's essentially the guy in the, in fucking behind enemy lines or whatever that's like holding the gun. And then when he dies, the dude with the fucking bullets picks up his gun, puts the bullets in and can fire. Fucked up stuff that Russia had to do. But it's kind of like that, where that guy goes in, he fucking gets Midia to do the Uber attack, the laser beam coming down from the sky shit, which is brutal in this game. That guy dies. The other 4 guys might die from her regular attacks, but they're definitely not going to be insta-fucked like the first dude, and I would blow the bombs up one by one, and that took a while. Even doing it this cheap-ass way, it takes time.
Yeah, that fight took with the Judge of Wings fight. That took me like an real time for the one battle that I beat her on.
Mm-hmm.
That was like an hour and a half.
Yeah, dude.
It was almost my entire train ride.
It was sick, and I got to this fight. Like, I came home and I was like, I'm gonna do some Revenant Wings today. I think
I'll dabble.
Yeah, I'll get a couple missions in. I think I'm feeling the game right now, and I get in and that was the one I was on. I was like, oh my god, dude, I was fucking doing this forever and ever and ever. And then the funny part is I get past that, and the game also has these little extra missions that you get from Tomaj. And he basically, the further you progress in the story, you unlock certain missions that you can go out and do.
Every new chapter, you get a set of new missions, and then you can go to revisit certain areas if you want, and then there'll be new missions available, and then Yeah, Tomage gives you a big list of them.
Yeah, and there's some that you have to unlock by doing crafting. It's like individual crafting numbers. I'm not sure what
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So when I was on my trip to Vegas, the last thing I was doing was just crafting, dude. I was just fucking buying materials, going over to the other dude, crafting, talking to people, checking and seeing if my mission was unlocked. And when they were, I mean, these are missions that I should have had like 15 hours into the game. So I just fucking pummeled through. I was like a fucking steamroller on these little bastards. They didn't have a chance, man. I could have probably went in there with one person and killed them all. Yeah, like a challenge mode thing. But so there's those little missions, and those give you some pretty good items. One of the other aspects of the gameplay, which was weird, and I brought up a second ago, is the crafting thing. I mean, FF12, no crafting.
Crafter, no.
No, the loot system in 12, I think, is amazing. I love how it scales. If you kill a bunch of enemies that are the same type, you start getting really good loot, better pickups, and you get like spells cast on you and stuff. In this game, normally when you enter an instance where you're fighting a group of people or doing a mission or whatever it may be, there will normally be little places that you can mine, essentially. You can like go walk over and you guys like pull out a pickaxe and they mine materials. There'll be treasure boxes that you pick up, and there's usually weapons or sometimes materials in those as well. And honestly, this is one of the areas of the game that I enjoyed the gameplay. I thought the crafting was kind of cool. Like, creating better weapons for myself was something that hadn't
Was
really
there a
been...
trick to it? Was there certain, like, dialogue boxes or whatever that were better for certain things? Or...
I truly don't know.
Okay.
Honestly, I was trying to do it right the first time, and then after, I was like, I'm just going to do the first option. Like, I don't think it makes a difference, honestly.
Okay.
I don't know for sure, though. But yeah, you'd get like different materials. You'd need like a gem, a piece of wood, and something else for the kites person, and it would just kind of change based on whoever you're using. And you would occasionally come across these books that would have different recipes in them, and those usually came with story progression. So it's kind of funky, like the whole crafting system. I enjoyed it.
It seemed like the way to get the best weapons.
Oh yeah,
as opposed to buying them.
Yeah, buying them is like it's for noobs, man.
They're okay.
Yeah, they're good. They're good starting, but you uncover.
They're never as good as the crafting ones.
No, dude, no. And I enjoyed that element of it. I'd never really needed to go out and just harvest materials though.
Were there hunts in this game? I didn't really explore that aspect. I kind of did the main missions and some of the extra missions. I got about 80% completion on this game, which is, I think, pretty good.
Yeah, no, that's not bad.
So I did basically all the extra missions that Tomage opened up until the ending of the game.
Yeah.
Were there hunts or something like that?
No, the extra missions from Tomage were all that was offered in Final Fantasy XII. Now, not all. There is one other thing you can do, and that is fight Yaizamat.
Okay.
The guy doesn't have 10 million or 50 million HP this time, though. I don't know how much he has, but it's a dungeon called Midlight's Deep, and at the very tail end of the game, you can actually, instead of going into the final area, you can like tail off to the left and do a dungeon that's called Midlight's Deep. Now, Midlight's Deep is a treasure trove of amazing. You can get the first mission done in 4 minutes flat, including a save file.
And you just do it over
exiting
and
out of the
over
first
again.
one, yeah.
Right.
And
we talked about this.
Right. You grind up to a certain level, which is for the 50s, right, for you.
Yeah.
And that's the sweet spot for this game. Don't go any higher, because I'm higher, and I can't beat the fucking game.
No, go to 60.
Oh, okay. Is it 60?
60s, yeah.
Okay. I am level like 78 or something like that. I got my guys up to fight Yaizamat, and I can't beat the end boss anymore. Now, if I got up to probably 85, mid-80s, maybe late 80s, I bet you I could kill him again. But as of right now, I went back in and was going to play around with some tactics to help Joe out, and I got fucking ruined by those guys. It's just the regular guys, too. Those fucking little dudes.
It's not even Fathanos.
No,
it's just
man,
the little
no.
spawns.
I can't even begin to comprehend Fathanos. The fucking little guys are level 99. They're just porking me. So there's definitely some interesting gameplay elements in this, and I did kill Yaizamat. I think I died the first time, and then I was like, okay, I know what I need to do. There was a lot of AoE going on, and then Those little fucking carbuncle guys, man. Those little fucks. They're just fucking annoying because they're like cowards about it. They like go right next to the main boss guy and they like sit there and they're all protected and shit. And they're sitting there just healing Yazimat like there's no fucking tomorrow. Just endless health flying out. And they're like, take it. Rain down the love. It was fucked, dude. I couldn't get over to him either. Like I was just getting fucking nuked. But the second time, I killed all the medics, and then I was able to dominate. So that was fun. I enjoyed that. Some of the weird part about the gameplay, I would say, is the stylus. This is something I ran into a lot with especially on the 3DS, not doing the DS screen cheat thing. I would. Oh man, you got to go across and like drag and pull to select a bunch of characters at once.
That's not the only thing that's wrong.
And you got to tap on the screen, and depending on what you tap on, different actions will take place. It'll either be walk over here, or it will be go mine this, go attack this. This thing was super clunky in this game. There were so many times where I thought I had my whole team, and I look back and like,
it's like, yeah, there's two stragglers.
Yeah.
I can't believe there is not a select all button.
Yeah.
Like I felt like the L2 and R2 buttons, which just kind of like flipped your screen.
Yeah, they should have been a select all.
Why the fuck wasn't one of them a select all or a deselect all?
Yeah.
Why the fuck was that not part of it?
That would have made a big difference in this game.
So there was that thing. That was annoying.
Yeah.
Like the stylus' accuracy or whatever, or like how far away your screen is from your characters,
make sure,
which would be nice to adjust.
Yeah, make sure you save the collision for last, though.
I was about to say it, but
are you serious?
Yeah, let me talk about the final boss.
Okay.
We're gonna go out of order, and then we can talk about the fucking collision.
Okay.
The final boss, Fathanos, which of course I famously was stuck on for 9 hours of retrying over and over again. Of course, the final boss and his summon Bahamut, apparently from what I've read and from what you witnessed, he does level up with you in a way, but early 50s is too hard.
Yeah.
Obviously late 70s is
also too hard.
So the sweet spot is in between, and I was able to beat him relatively easy.
Yeah.
If you're going to play this game, just do enough extra stuff where you get to level 60.
Yeah.
And then beat the final boss, and then do other shit. Just so that you can beat it and whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people told me to do the summon battles or whatever to get Bahamut in order to beat the guy, and from what I was hearing, that was a harder fight. So I was like, what the fuck? How the fuck can I do that? And then I tried that fight and it was fucking impossible.
I would second that. That was harder than the final boss.
That was absolutely, in a way, really terrible advice.
Yeah.
Unless you were a high enough level, of course.
The bad part is that was the very next day after the fight with Midia. I went on to do the fight with Bahamut, and that fucking fight, dude, that took me 2 fucking hours to beat. And I only died. I died twice. I died 2 times, and then I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna go Midia mode. But it's not just Midia mode where you can launch the bombs at her because
Midia doesn't move.
Yeah, Midia stands there like a fucking moron, like a lump on a log.
Yeah.
These fuckers, they come for you. And Bahamut's fucking attack, ranged, dude. Fucking ranged, and it's AoE, and if you're fucking there, you are dead. Because you won't just die. You'll fucking get paralyzed, and your team will just watch as you're all huddled down, fucking like, oh, help me! Help! And he's just fucking crawling up behind you all slow, just ready to fuck you as hard as he can. And he does. That was sick. Because we got 4 or 5 summons, and then suddenly Bahamut just comes down.
How many minutes is that fight? How much time
of my life
total?
Today? Oh,
yeah, just doing one round on your successful one, even. You have to go
on
through
the
all
successful
those fucking summons.
On the successful one, I think it was another hour and 20 minutes. It was a night. It was a night of Revenant Wings for one fucking mission, man. And this was the day after I spent a whole fucking night doing the mission with Midia. I was like, God damn, dude, is this game just going to be 60 plus hours from here to the end? It was sick. But I was able to do it. Bahamut was on my team for the end fight, and it was good. He does a lot of damage. He makes a big difference but I would agree that he is the tougher fight. I didn't know that, though, for sure. I was just doing it because I wanted to do all the extra missions, and I thought, oh, this guy would be useful for the end. If I could get Bahamut, if I could get him to not nuke me.
Fuck. All right, so before we talk about what we thought about the game, let's talk about one aspect that is definitely the most negative aspect of this fucking game.
Yeah.
And that is, as we were saying, the collision in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, Schweiss, that on the final boss, he has this super move that splices your map in half, and anybody in the way is going to get at least half of their HP destroyed. Decimated would be only 10%. So
true. It's much worse than
that. It would be absolutely raped and destroyed. And so when you're trying to fight around this staircase that is, of course, part of the path, maybe you need some guys in and some guys out, kind of out of the way. Or
yeah, definitely.
You want to strategically move your forces, but whenever you fucking click on a guy and the group is right in front of the straight line to the target, the dudes in the game, your espers or your guys in the game, cannot figure out how to walk through a group or around them.
Yeah.
Which is like, isn't this game design 101? Why the fuck would you want them to I know you told me to walk over there, and there's totally like 3 clear paths, obviously, to the direction, but no, I just can't. I'm gonna pace back and forth in front of this group for 20 minutes before like another wave of minions come in, and you have to take care of them.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you.
Fuck.
It's like, okay. And the worst part was the mid-lights deep, I would say, because we have to like skirt the edge, right, to go around the sides. And dude, Bahamut is...
So they don't have a mind of their own when they're trying to get to the place that you want, but then, of course, they'll randomly attack guys.
Yeah, they'll attack guys on the way.
Hey, I told you guys to move and not attack.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's the collision is pretty bad in this game, and it's
pretty bad.
It's crazy because it's like that moment in the hallway where you want to avoid somebody, but then they go the same way as you, and then like you guys move the other way at the same time, and then you do that. That's what they do. That is what your guys will do
but forever
in this game. No, I know. It's
endless.
I'm like fighting, and I'm like, dude, I'm dying here. Where the fuck is Bahamut? I look back, and he's like,
and guys,
fucking 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I'm like, dude, what are you fucking doing back there?
Dude, they move at like 5 feet an hour as well. So like everything you do in this game takes forever as far as movement is concerned. So let's say on that final boss with the beam of death below the stairs, right? And you're trying to get up there and do your thing before Bahamut gets up. And so you don't want your main guys in the middle of that fight. So when all these other guys are trying to spawn, you're trying to get, say, my Ifrit character up those stairs and onto the guy, but he won't go around the fucking group. So then I have to like take him all the way around and up, but then that causes the bad guys to attack him instead of my main group.
Yeah.
I swear to God, dude, the fucking,
It was crazy at times, although I will say that there were some great elements to it. I mean, I like the idea of just having a group of dudes like, okay, well, these guys have to die. These guys must die for us to succeed. Like when I beat it, that's what happened.
Sorry, Esper.
I was like, look, fuckers, you guys need to go back there and you need to hold this fucking staircase line. You need to get these fucks off of me. I went up and I fucking had those guys they got fucking... And they got crushed, too. Those regular guys just fucking steamrolled them. It was like 2 seconds and they're dead. And I'm up there just fucking quickening after quickening to knock them out. And I don't know, I liked the idea of using that. And it is a very tactical game, I would say. There are points where you have to walk forward to pull a section of the enemy troops to you. That's how I beat the Fran and Balthier fight. I figured out where the auto spawns would happen, which the first time they happened... awful, right? You know what I'm talking about when during that map when you'd get over to a certain area and then there would just suddenly be like 12 guys that just pop up. It's like boop. Yeah, that was fucked up because I was like doing my little tactic of like pulling off a little chunk of dudes and then like
I got this shit.
Yeah, it was like the fucking raptor in Jurassic Park. I'm like fucking going after the one in front of me and then like and then I die. So once I figured that out, I was able to like kind of edge forward, and then the dudes surrounding, the Esper surrounding Fran would follow, but then Fran would just like go ADHD mode and get distracted and like kind of go back. But then I could like pull half of her group without her. And there's a lot of that in this game. There's a lot of
double-edged sword of the I'll listen to exactly what you say and only that, because that group in the way, I'm sorry, you told me to walk this way.
Yeah.
Mixed with I'm not going to do anything that you say.
Yeah, it's crazy. The characters, it's nuts. One other thing that they brought into this game was the quickenings. That's another thing they carried over from Final Fantasy XII. Right. A lot of these, or not quickenings, gambits. We've already talked about quickenings. They're pretty useful. There's some that do like nullify damage for a certain character.
Different
and all
characters
their
have different quickenings.
Most of them are just nuke moves.
Yeah.
Holy was awesome. There's some good spells like game you get. So it's pretty standard in those regards. But the quickening, you get one quickening per character, and you kind of just set it up, and they will do that move.
One gambit per character.
One gambit. Damn it. Sorry.
Yeah.
One gambit per character, and you set that up, and they use it whenever the cooldown on that move is ready.
Which I found mildly frustrating, by the way.
Yeah.
So oftentimes I wanted like a offensive move, but there were some times where it was like I really need to do defensive stuff. So let's say Bosch, who had Protect and Shell as one of his spells, right? Or two of his spells.
Two of them, yeah.
You can choose one of them to be the gambit, and then you have to manually put on the other one.
Yeah,
which I thought was frustrating. Like, I wanted the gambit system from 12 so that I could go in there and mess with it.
Well, I would say this
or at
game...
least like 3 moves.
This game probably
not
needed
just
it just about as much as 12 did. I mean, 12 had a lot going on. But this game, you've got shit... In Age of Empires, can you imagine if you had to like fucking do like a +3 to your accuracy for your bowman while you're walking, and then also like a defense move? God,
yeah.
That'd be awful.
Yeah, it would be.
It'd be fucking horrifying. You'd be like, God, I can't do it fast
And you have
enough.
everybody selected, and you accidentally like press a different spot, and you're like, fuck, and I need to get into the spell region, and then they start attacking a totally different group, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Or you click off. No. It's not clicking off. What'll happen is sometimes if you do like a little event thing, like someone's like, oh, found a treasure, and it like just deselects everybody. So I'm like, I'm trying to run here. Shut the fuck up about the treasure. We're gonna die. But no, I did enjoy the gameplay, I would say overall. There were some pain points, and the collision thing, I was getting really mad at it one day because I was like, dude, there's no rhyme or reason. I summoned the same group of guys, and Bahamut there's just nothing going on upstairs. He's just fucking walking into the wall. And I'm like, dude, I ask you to come to this top section. That doesn't mean by how the crow flies. I don't expect you to just like fucking lift off and fly over there. Like, walk around. And I have to turn everything. It's like I'm driving a fucking semi.
It's always like
That's what it is. I've got to do fucking wide as fuck turns to get these bastards around the corner.
It's a 4-point turn, so you got to like click the first point that he gets to, click the second point that he gets to past the group, and then finally click the...
Midlight's Deep is like a diamond or square shape, and what I would end up doing is just select everybody and then just stick them to the very fucking edge of each little section and just wait. Just wait until everyone's there, and that way, no one is going to be anywhere near the fucking edge, so they could just like stand there and be like, oh, what do I do here?
Oh, so one thing I didn't mention, the espers that are elemental, your enemy espers are also elemental. And before you start the mission, you see the list of espers that are going to be available.
Right.
So you can cater your team elementally against the other team.
Right.
Which I thought was a cool aspect of this.
Yeah, definitely. I enjoyed that. I liked the fact that they honored the elementals in this. Some of the games get weird with that in Final Fantasy. Usually it's pretty rare, but in this one, it was that added to the tactics of it, honestly. I mean, we'd go in and we'd see, okay, this is a fire group. Let's pull out Matthias and all of our Shivas and whatnot and do some damage. There were enemies that were not weak to anything, and there were resistances as well. And sometimes they would be kind of mix and match within the game, within each battle as well. So it's like, okay, well, which one do I think I'm going to run across more? Or which one of these guys is going to fucking demolish me more? And then you kind of tailor it around that. I enjoyed that too. I thought that made it, I thought that added to the overall tactical experience of it. I thought,
that was a cool part. I think overall, Schweiss, I do like the game.
Yeah.
I think that it's like League of Legends, and of course that means that it's like Warcraft 3 and StarCraft and all those other RTS games, plus the RPG elements of having levels and spells and gambits and all that other stuff. But it feels to me like it's the mobile version of a much better, sleeker game.
Yeah.
It's like there could have been something more to this, like a good PC, personal computer type of, game.
Yeah, they have something going to where it could be much better than it is.
But it feels like it's been stripped down and simplified, and it's still fun. Most of it is still fun.
Yeah, there's some parts where I want to tear what hair I have left.
I do want to
say
that it is a highly flawed game, especially with that collision.
Yeah. If you think the collision in FF11 is bad, you have no fucking idea. This is so much more. Because in 11, when you have the auto run on, you collide, but you eventually go through. In this game, if you don't fucking make them move, they will just keep doing it. And so they're insane, all of them. And, don't be a cunt either. I know I emphasized that before, but don't be a fucking cunt when you play this game. Acknowledge the fact that you need to throw away certain people to win. And honestly, one other thing I did a lot is, especially when I got tired of the game, I would like see the treasures and be like, all right, I'm going to send the fast guy out, the guy who can fly out to get the treasures and like snag stuff while I'm going through the levels. And I thought that added kind of a cool little tactical thing to it as well. It's like, can I pull this guy off? Will I die?
Yeah, sometimes I would throw dudes away to pull a mass away from something.
Yeah, it's like when you
they'll chase.
Yeah, it's like when you beat
the
Diablo 1.
The will chase. And so they're chasing the other guy, and that lets you like take their crystal or take their other thing. So it's like a game of chess in a way.
Yeah, but the other
I
players,
thought that was a really cool aspect.
But the other players like blind in one eye and kind of slow.
I think it'd be cool if this. I honestly think they should have done this. Like had a multiplayer map or something for this game, and you would have to take over the other person's crystal.
Yeah.
I think that would be fun. That would be you could have done it on the DS, so I'm surprised that they didn't do that.
It's just,
and that would have been a cool aspect of it. But yeah, it's like a MOBA game, but it's simplified and it has some issues.
Yeah, it definitely does.
But overall, I liked it. Yeah,
I did too, and honestly, I felt it was very refreshing, especially right when I started the game. Before I started running into the Midia fight and the summon fight from hell, I was actually really digging it. I was like, man, this is a nice, fresh game. It's something that I haven't done.
Made me so pissed off at the game. And honestly, that is a super game flaw. Like the fucking level up with you and make it harder as you go along bullshit that they did with FF8. And they did with the final boss of FF7. But that's much easier than this
Sephiroth is fucking a
Sephiroth
pushover.
Is kind of a pushover.
This guy would destroy Sephiroth.
I can't stand that. I'm sick of them doing that at Square Enix. I don't know why the fuck they do that. Like, just make him a fucking high level that's hard to get to. Or something like that. Well, that's basically
what they do. I mean...
Or make it a strategically difficult fight.
Yeah, like Fives. Fives is... Of course, we had to grind for 5 anyway. 5 is
just a hard fight. That's just extremely
even with
fight.
Giltoss, you can fucking die.
Yeah,
that's not okay. Giltoss and Mime, you should be good.
It's rough. It's a rough game, but even with like, don't make it the boss impossible to kill.
Yeah,
or don't make it so that there's a sweet spot, but as soon as you hit level 80, it goes up like tenfold.
It's so bizarre because if
you want to do that and have a hard and easy mode on the game itself, when you're starting, right?
I was trying to, when I'm telling you, like when I told you about the boss, I'm like, you're like, well, why should I level up if he levels up with me? I'm like, you just have to. You have to level up to a certain spot where your guys get good enough moves and shit like that they can withstand it. I didn't realize the sweet spot was as sweet as it actually is.
Oh, it's
thank
easy.
God, I fucking got there. Because I died one time to him. And it was because I was fighting Bahamut with the beam. And he did his thing, and the beam went off, and I was like... It was just... Suddenly, it was fucking Pinello. That was all that was left. And I'm like, oh,
God. There was that moment in Saving Private Ryan where no sound for a second.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, oh god, dude. Everyone's just fucking chunks, Gibbs flying off the thing. Penelo's just like fucking shattered. She can't even move. Just
See Lloyd's holding his intestines.
yeah, he's trying to pull him back in.
God.
Too much. Awesome. Crazy, but yeah, I did enjoy the game though. I thought it was fun, even though flawed and very frustrating at times. I just it was a good change of pace, honestly. Like and I know that's something that's been happening to us a lot lately with these spin-offs. They're just like, third-person shooter with awful mechanics. Third-person action RPG where you mash X the whole time, basically.
Yeah.
But I would say this one follows along the same vein of just kind of a refreshing thing that
They're experimenting, but they're
Yeah.
putting Final Fantasy on it so that they can
sell it. Yeah. 1.2 million or 1.04 million or whatever.
1.04, I think.
That's pretty good. I mean, that's a lot of copies.
Yeah, it
A lot
is.
of copies sold. So kudos to them. I think Dirge did probably somewhere around there. That's what we
something
maybe
similar,
1.4 or something
right.
like that. So they do well with these spin-offs, but honestly, I do wonder though how much the game would have sold, how well it would have been received if it wasn't a Final Fantasy, or if it would have even been picked up by people. So I feel like they do sometimes just like, well, we got this game and well, we don't know how it's going to do, but if we put Final Fantasy on the name,
I'm surprised this hasn't been ported to mobile yet.
we know it's going to do at least this. Yeah.
It should be ported to mobile with a handy select all button.
Yeah, I agree.
The fuck?
That would be a great addition to this.
There was no guy in the testing who was like, we should have it so you can select your entire group.
No, it is so nuts too, because like it will be that way. I will be wondering why I'm losing, and it's because I just barely didn't drag it over. Vaughn, my most powerful character, and he's just back there at base, just doing his little 2D movement shit. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Get up here! We're dying over here.
So stupid.
But yeah.
But yeah, overall, good about the game. As like a simplistic thing, super frustrated on that final boss. Though.
Yeah.
So frustrated.
Some mega pain points, but there are ways to get through it.
And you can hear my entire rant from like two episodes ago or 3 episodes
Yeah,
ago.
you were like, this guy was breaking down. Like, I thought he was going to cry, man.
I wasn't going to cry, but I wanted to burn the game.
It was a very,
Still might give it away.
very visceral moment where I thought, this is like me when I first loaded up 11, and I was like tearing up, like, oh man, I'm going to quit the show. I don't want to do this anymore. But we did it. Fucking did it, man.
Yeah, why the fuck did they make this the hard mode version?
Dude, I don't know, because it's mostly easy.
Right, the Americans, they play RTS RPGs on the DS all the time.
And it's like they didn't think of it until the very end. Like the Midia fight and then the last fight, everything else is gravy.
Yeah, that's right. It's mostly gravy. Yeah, there were a couple I had to restart on, and it was mostly like a challenge thing, or I would barely win or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was all strategic and fun because it was like that.
Yeah, and you were winning, and it was good. And I was like, man, I like this.
Just the pump up and difficulty on those last 2 big fights.
Nuts.
That was ridiculous. So ridiculous. Speaking of ridiculous, you want to talk about design?
Yes, please. So this game is a DS game.
It is. You are correct.
As we know, Nintendo doesn't really care about the graphical capacities. Now, that being said, I think the game looks pretty good.
For a DS game,
yeah. Especially the cutscenes. Now, they're not interesting, but I thought they looked pretty good. You don't
I guess
like
graphically they look good.
I like the cutscenes except for the people. I like the plane, the straw taken off.
It's more of an art problem I have.
Oh, really?
With the game than a graphical problem. So Final Fantasy XII, if you remember, was a very realistic Final Fantasy game.
Yes.
So people looked generally like people.
Yeah, unless they were a Star Warsy fucking dragon person.
Slightly anime-esque, but they were mostly people.
Right. Even the ones that were Star Warsy, they looked mostly people lizardy.
And the design, as far as the art is concerned, unlike Final Fantasy X that came before it, or unlike Final Fantasy XIII after it in many respects, definitely a more earthy palette, definitely a more realistic wardrobe.
Yeah, very tame when it came to the anime
based
wardrobe.
More in reality and less in anime than is usual for later Final Fantasy games.
Yes.
This game, Final Fantasy XII Revenant Wings, kind of takes that philosophy of a more down-to-earth Final Fantasy game. It opens a window in a high tower and it just chucks it outside and watches it fall to the ground, hit the surface of the earth, and splatter all over the fucking place.
Yeah.
This game, art design wise, is just as cartoony as Final Fantasy IX, only it's much worse given the fact that it's coming from a universe that we've already been in and that we know what it's supposed to look like, and now it's like, oh, and now here's the cartoony kitty Teletubby version of Final Fantasy XII.
Kinda, yeah. That's sort of what the game looks like. Yeah. I don't really dig it that much either. I will say I enjoy the way it looks for the most part. Not necessarily the style, but I think everything looks good for a DS. But like I said earlier with the story section, the videos, the high def quote unquote videos, they didn't really add anything to it. The pre-rendered cutscenes, yeah, they didn't add much to the story. And honestly, some of it looked good, but that Penelo one was just so wrong in my mind. And like the thing she was wearing, and I was like, oh God, just stop. Like, I don't know.
Well, their heads are big. Their faces are more simplified. They're kind of cartoony looking.
Yeah,
everything is very rounded all of a sudden. It's not just anime. It's that new word we all learned, which was chibi.
Oh, yeah.
It's somewhere in between a realistic or a normal anime style and like a chibi style.
Yeah.
So like Vaughn, who probably looked his age in Final Fantasy XII, now looks, all of a sudden he looks 13, 14-ish.
Yeah.
Just the way he looks.
Yeah,
and Ash and Bosch don't look like that.
No, Bosch looks like he's 20. Guy should be like 30-something by now. 30-ish.
Very grizzled. 30-year-old. But,
well, he was in a fucking cage for a while.
That's true.
Fucking age is a man.
That's a good point.
You're fucking playing Canary.
Actually, would age him less because he's not in the sun so much. Although all the hair would probably grow, and he's not very groomed. And
no, he's kind of a hobo-looking motherfucker when you save him.
Right. So in that way, you might be right. But yeah, as far as cutscenes are concerned, as far as like character dialogue boxes where you see their face are concerned, not a big fan. The actual game itself, which is kind of like this quasi 2D, 3D thing.
Yeah.
And the designs of the areas and the designs of the creatures that you fight or whatever in the game itself when you're doing missions, I think it looks good.
Yeah.
In general, it does look pretty good. And I would say especially a high point design-wise, not only story-wise, but design-wise in this game are the missions in the dream world.
Oh, yeah.
Where like suddenly they're like, oh, it's a dream world. Let's do crazy shit. And so they do. And it looks pretty cool. Like as far as like very vibrant colors and kind of this dream-like misty quality to all the levels in that area. So I was a pretty big fan of that. I was like, things look
the last like 5 hours of the story, maybe 4 hours, I thought was really cool looking. The areas deeper in, kind of near Midlight's Deep. Midlight's Deep itself, I thought looked really cool. It almost had a Great Crystal sort of a vibe going to it with the weird platforms and just the overall design of the thing.
I like, okay. So I'll say this: I don't like the character design at all.
Yeah,
but I do like the designs of, let's say, the environments or the effects. I like that stuff a lot.
Okay, yeah. That's fair. I liked the special moves. Meteor was pretty legit looking. Holy was fun. all the animations for stuff like that was pretty solid. But I think I would echo the fact that I wasn't really into the whole the characters. They just looked really odd, and it's I don't know why they did it, honestly. Like, it would have been fine to have the character models the same as they were during the battle scenes. But the cutscenes, they probably could have stepped it up a little bit. Of course, I don't know because I don't develop games for the DS, but I know it's a surprise. But it wasn't the best. But there were some really cool moments that did stand out, and that the dream sequence, I was like, wow, this looks really awesome. When I got there, I was like, this is cool. No, finally. Cool. And the rest of the battle areas are fun. So,
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we're kind of on the same page as far as design is concerned.
Yeah, I could have done more.
Yeah. Let's talk about sound and music.
So the soundtrack, for the most part, came directly from Final Fantasy XII. And by the most part, I mean pretty much all of it. I can't really think
from what I read, I think there was one very minor track.
Okay.
That was made by whatever the name of the composer who did the one track was.
All right.
But the rest of the game's soundtrack is remixed Final Fantasy XII tracks, kind of, I would say, almost degraded down to the DS level of soundtrack, where it sounds very arcadey or very 16-bit era sort of sound. But it is the Final Fantasy XII soundtrack almost in its entirety.
Yeah.
And they use it at very strategic points during the game, and I think it's, for the most part, really well used. I am surprised that there wasn't more of an original soundtrack to this game. I'm almost disappointed in that way, but I mean, it's the Final Fantasy XII soundtrack, which is generally a pretty good soundtrack, so can't really complain that much.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I liked getting the Giza Plains track kicking in when you started out the game in the desert maps. I thought it was fine. I never really ran into any issues with the sound as far as the soundtrack goes. Like you said, though, it is kind of weird and almost disappointing that they don't have any original soundtrack stuff for this game, except for the one song, which I honestly can't even bring to mind as I'm sitting here. All I can think of is the stuff from 12 that I heard.
Yeah.
Battle theme was in there from 12, a lot of the overworld map stuff. So it just borrowed a lot from that game, which I thought was fine. It didn't really bother me necessarily, and it was kind of cool, like hearing this almost more MIDI-esque version of the 12 music. I like 12 soundtrack to some extent. It's mostly just like a thing that's happening. It's not big and awesome like some of the others, but it was cool remembering. Oh yeah, this was from 12. I remember this piece.
It's true. It is much more upfront than the music of 12 is. So it takes that music and it's like the thing that you hear when you turn on the speakers of the DS.
Yeah.
And part of it was, well, I didn't play the game with the sound on for the most part, so I'm okay with it being the 12 soundtrack as far as this review is concerned. The other thing in this game, as far as sound is concerned, there's no voice acting, so we can't really judge that, but like, there's a whole bunch of little, really loud and blaring noises when you're doing other things in the game, like selecting anything or if anything's attacking something else. It's these very computer-esque or arcade-esque noises that you hear for everything in the game. There's like there's a ton of shit.
Yeah.
And it is kind of off-putting within all these Final Fantasy games. It's odd and out of place, but how many people really play their DS with the sound on?
I don't know. That's an interesting question.
The man who was playing his video game with the sound on the train and no headphones, I wanted to shoot him. So I generally hope that people aren't in public spaces with the fucking sound on, with the speakers blaring, so that we can all hear it. Anyway, that's a different discussion.
I didn't really have any issues with the sound effects themselves. I do know what you mean, though.
They're really loud and they're really like in your face. That's my only issue with them. I thought they were fitting, but
Yeah.
it was kind of odd. Yeah.
Just kind of strangely mixed, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, that's fair.
Everything is loud in this game. Every sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the way it's mixed. Everything is like crushed to death.
Yeah, well, 12 was that way too, though.
That's true. 12 was that way, but it also didn't have the electronic-y version of its score.
Yeah. Yeah, the score was still
more
natural.
Orchestrated or something.
Yeah, well, it was. I mean, so.
I think it was. Not sure.
I know some of the pieces in 12
yeah.
definitely are. The intro and shit like that. It sounds amazing.
But otherwise, yeah, soundtrack's kind of uneventful because it's the exact same soundtrack as 12.
Yeah.
So what else are you going to say about it, you know?
No, yeah.
I think it was used well.
It was, yeah. There was never a moment where I was like, it's kind of fucked up, so. This is passable. I don't know. It's not a good or a bad. It's just a 12 soundtrack.
All right. Well, Schweiss, I think we had some questions. We at least had some questions from our listeners.
Did we, though?
Did
we?
We did. Let's get to it.
Questions for us. We would like to hear from you. To contact us on Twitter. Get on and ask your questions. We'll answer them. We will. This is the question segment. Ask and you will receive.
Yeah, so a while ago, we asked you guys to submit your Revenant Wings questions. The first one up here is from Shinru, as always, a very loyal question answerer, Shinru. Thoughts on the fact that Square Enix decided to change the difficulty level from extremely easy in the Japanese version for a harder version for North America.
Fuck them.
/ Europe. I just say America. And then move on. Basically, did you like fighting bosses that hit harder and were more powerful and had like 2 times or 3 times the HP they had in the Japanese version as well?
Not for the last 2 bosses, and I'm sure for Schweiss, who did the extra stuff, not for those either.
They were not as... Okay, no. They weren't as bad. Actually, no, the Bahamut thing was fucking awful, but the rest of it was pretty doable.
Okay,
I fucking steamrolled through a lot of those guys.
We have had experience with RTSs, though, like any good American player should.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. Thoughts on the music and best track. Kind of went over that. I don't know if there's a best track necessarily that stood out to me. It was mostly just 12 stuff.
It's just Final Fantasy 12s.
Which is decent. I mean,
thoughts on the dungeons? There wasn't really any dungeon in the regular Final Fantasy sense. The final battle was kind of like this big open area with a staircase and this gigantic creature named Fathanos that you had to like take apart each like little section of him. Yeah,
I would say there's one mission that's kind of dungeon-esque in this game, and it's one of the dream sequences where you have to go like fuck with a certain thing. I can't remember. It's been a while since I did these missions, but you had to go tamper with something, and then it would open up a passageway, and you could gain access to different sections of the level. Do you remember that one? That one feels more dungeon-esque because it's not just
I know what you're talking about. It's
dungeon-esque,
but once again, it's
the closest we really get, I would say.
It's different, Granital. It's more like multiple open fields.
Yeah.
You have to deal with. And I mean, they have their own sort of hallway areas in them, but I don't know. It's not quite dungeon-esque. There's not really a dungeon.
Yeah. Was the story okay to you?
It's okay.
Not really.
Not really. Yeah.
Thoughts on best dungeon? Like we said, not really much of a dungeon game.
Thoughts on the bosses? Fuck Fathanos and fuck Bahamut, and fuck Midia, just because of the time that she took to kill. But otherwise, it was kind of fun.
Yeah, the final boss.
Fight the boss.
I thought it was cool. I like the tiered boss fights. I think those are a lot of fun. And being able to take out his left hand, his right hand, and then him was cool. And then Bahamut thrown in there as a curveball at the end, while a pain in the ass, was a cool addition to the final boss.
I would say that I would probably look a lot more well upon the final boss had I not been stuck on it for 9 hours.
Well, he asked in the second half, how many tries did it take you both? I did it in 2 tries.
Hours and hours.
Yeah.
Worth of tries. I don't even know.
Tons. On the Twitch chat, Sunships Lova says, was the last section of Revenant Wings more annoying than FF3's last dungeon?
Yes. Yes.
Definitely
It
for
was
me.
for me.
Because you guys remember what happened with me. Because we played that part of the episode twice when we were mixing it. So what happens when you're playing this game on the DS or on the Kindle is I would say it's probably about on par from my experience.
I forgot about that.
But that was very limited. Yeah, we had a recording
Early mistakes.
issue in the first episode, and when I was working,
It was
I was
the
listening.
FF3 episode.
Yeah, I was listening to it, and I was like, how many fucking times am I going to bring up the fucking thing, the save thing?
So I remember we had... someone said something stupid and we decided to edit something out, which we of course don't do anymore.
fuck
which
that,
is halfway a mistake and halfway is just fine.
No, it's the art. We're just professionals
Sure.
now.
Yeah, that's what it is. And so I thought that we had gotten rid of a section or something, and then we repeated.
Yeah.
It was so fucking stupid.
Yeah. Not as... I don't think it was... it was about the same, honestly. I only died in 3 one time, I think. But I didn't have to exit out, as you guys know. So... thoughts on getting the Bahamut summon? Joe doesn't have any on that, and I kind of went into it pretty deep. It was a bitch to get. It was such a pain in the ass. But Bahamut is by far the best fucking summon in this game. He smokes the
He
competition.
better be.
Oh, he is. There's no one else in this game that is up to snuff in any sense of the word compared to Bahamut. It's sick, yeah. Let's see. Did you know that on the DS FF3 at the Crystal Tower and Revenant Wings final boss had so many forum posts of people rage quitting them at the time back in the late 2000s that they are both infamous for rage quitting now? Just bringing those games up sometimes causes people to have PTSD flashbacks and get angry. Joe can probably...
Crystal Tower was a bitch for me, and I remember I had to run through it like a few times. That was a pain.
Yeah, what I would have done if I would have died is I would have just like...
This one, though, I'm just happy to be done with it. I'm just happy to be here today speaking about Final Fantasy XII Revenant Wings, and I'm glad I didn't quit the show because I was pretty close to doing it.
Yeah, that would have sucked. Then I would have had to have gotten that Gimp Craig to fill in for you.
Fill in till you can find someone else.
Yeah. So for the DS in 2007, almost 10 years old, did you like the graphics and CG cutscenes? Graphics, yes. Cutscenes, not so much.
Yeah, I agree.
Did you like seeing the FF12 characters and world again in a new story?
I don't think they made a single fucking difference to the story.
I liked
besides the fact that there were sky pirates.
I did like seeing the characters again. I like those characters. But they weren't really quite the same, so it's a yes and no as far as that goes. Schweiss, as an FF12 fan, did you enjoy the game more because of that? No, I think my enjoyment for this game really comes from the fact that it's just different. I like innovation. I like it when Square Enix tries new things. They don't always work out super well. Examples being this game and Dirge, probably. But it is fun to have something that's like they just toss in and it's just a curveball for the show, something random. So, if you had a DS in 07 and finished FF12, would you have picked up this game? Yes, I probably would have. I did not have a DS or any plans of a DS in 2007. No, but I would have probably picked it up if I had the means and the DS at the time. I don't know. What about you?
I would always look at Dylan's version of the game because Dylan had bought the game at one point and then got rid of it because he gets games and then gets rid of them for no reason. He still might do that. I don't know, but I would always look at it in awe as like a game I wanted to play. Then I knew the reviews for it were kind of mixed. At least it seemed like that way at the time.
Yeah.
Of course, Metacritic has an 81, so that's not bad.
No, that's pretty good.
But yeah, I never, I don't know. It was kind of halfway in between. I wanted to play it, but I don't think I'd played FF12 by that time. I just knew about it.
Okay. So you just wanted to play because it was a Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
All right. And your experience with 8 at the
Yeah.
time. Do you think Van and Penelo are better characters in this than they were in FF12? I know some people that hated them in 12, but thought they were okay in this game.
Well, they aren't really characters in this game. They're fucking flat. And there's nothing to them. So I guess if you hated Vaughn and Penelo, then this will just be a nothing. It'll just be
I would say that I liked him more in this game, but I feel like the reason why I liked him more is because there wasn't a whole lot going on with anybody's development, so it felt a little more natural where, you know, in 12 we have Vaughn, who's just doing his thing, and then we have this epic story with
I'm Captain Bosch von Rotzenberg of Dalmasca.
You know, him the whole time, and his backstory with his brother, and this crazy thing that's like sounds like bullshit with the twin thing. And then we have Balthier coming in and all of his interactions with the characters. It's not as stark of a difference, I think, and that's probably why I enjoy them more in this game, is because they're just as flat as everyone else. So unfortunately, yes. Thoughts on the game being an RTS MOBA-like hybrid? As Civilization, Age of Empires, and League of Legends players, did you find it easier to grasp?
I guess
The basics, I would say, yeah. I mean,
I don't know. Schweiss was better at it than I am, which actually would be consistent with the other shit. So
that's true.
Maybe that's it.
Maybe
there you go.
I just got the RTS leg up.
I mean, I've won Civ.
It's true. Civ is probably the best thing in the world, I would say. No, it's
probably the Civilization probably the best things ever made.
I love Civ 5 so much, but it's probably the best as far as strategy and stuff like that. And it's very balanced. There's so many different ways you can win, and this thing, there's only one way, only one. Just slaughter your enemies. Let's see. Lastly, hey Joe, will you consider fighting the final boss again for us and live streaming the fight for all of us on Twitch?
No, thank you.
Hell no.
I'm okay. I'm all right.
All right. So Sonny says, I haven't played the game, and Joe clearly was loving it. Just by what you have mentioned, it sounded like that two different players may take on a challenge differently. Did you both enjoy the fact that there seemed to be multiple ways to take on enemies? I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, you don't always have to counter them with the magic. You can do like a nice defense wall and just kill them with ranged. There were a lot of
There are certain ways that
fights.
you're supposed to fight things in this game, where like you're supposed to counter certain types of creatures with your certain characters.
I would say that's fair.
And their group, and I did that very little.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a million different ways you can play most of these missions.
There's even stuff to the point of getting the ranged little salamander guys like on a corner, and because of the difficulties that these summons have walking around and taking corners, I could get like 5 or 6 shots off with these little ranged guys and be just hammering Bahamut with those. So I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do in this game. I mean, the bomb tactic is crazy. Like, it's nuts that you can just fucking ruin somebody just one little tick at a time and they can't do anything. It's like,
I'm glad their health doesn't go back up.
Yeah, it's like a fucking river just slowly working its way through the ground and creating this canyon. That's kind of how that fight was with the bombs. I'm just fucking corroding it slowly over time. I did enjoy that to some extent. Let's see. From how described, it seems as though there were many ways to take on fights and get your mind thinking up creative ways to engage the fight. Love the show. Keep it up.
I think that's kind of the point of RTSs, though.
Yeah, it is, basically. Oh, Shinru asks a question that I don't know if we can answer right now. Is Revenant Wings better than 10-2 as a sequel? What about FF4 After Years? I think we were going to do a super mega hog list for all.
We were going to do a ranking for all sequels.
Do you want to leave this until then? Or do you want to just fucking...
I think I can answer this right now. And I'm sure people listening who've listened to our reviews of 10-2 and After Years can probably tell I liked After Years a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a good sequel to Final Fantasy IV. 10-2 I did not like at fucking all. Almost. And yet 10-2 came out of the world of Final Fantasy X organically. It it made it very very childishly girly in a way that, of course, I found out of place with the somberness of Final Fantasy X for the most part, and in its tone. This game, however, is super flat. Like, it's just, you could throw in any character. As I said before when we were talking about the story section, it doesn't matter. You could make this take place in FF7. They find
into the mic
floating continent and they meet this guy named Lloyd, and there's shit being sucked up by this god creature.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it does not matter that this was from the Final Fantasy XII universe or not, and the characters don't really talk like they did that were in the way that we're used to or anything like that. So
Right. All right.
Once again, I have to say, I think 10-2 is a better sequel to 10 in the way that it actually comes from the world and didn't just use the characters and take them somewhere else and have a totally bland and different story for them to go through.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he asks also, where do you rank the FF12 sequel to all the other FF sequels and prequels you have played so far?
Which we haven't played any FF12 sequels and prequels. Oh, is he asking for the
ranking?
ranking?
He's asking about this one. Yeah, he's asking for it right now.
The ranking, not right now.
I will say that it is better than Dirge of Cerberus. Although Caleb Craig came to me, and this is going to piss you guys off a lot, I'm sure. He came to me and he asked, would I rather play through Dirge of Cerberus again or watch Crisis or Advent Children complete again? That is a difficult question to answer.
I would rather watch Advent Children complete.
Well, it only takes 2 hours.
Yeah, that's the time.
What if you had to either A, watch Advent Children as many times as hours it takes to beat Dirge, or play through Dirge of Cerberus again?
That is a tough one.
I know. I know. But this game, I enjoyed it more than Dirge. I think it's a better game than Dirge. That's all about all I'm going to give away with my rankings of the prequel and sequel. We will have an Uber list in the end, Shinru, once we move on from... Actually, we'll have a list once we move on to the different series, I think. We'll kind of cap off Season 2 with the Uber list.
Yeah.
Hallie Blue 156 says, I haven't finished 12 yet, but my question to you is, how do you think this game added to the overall universe of the FF12 story? Also,
didn't at all.
Do you think this is a must-play to add with Final Fantasy XII, or should people just skip it?
As a sequel to Final Fantasy XII, I don't think that's the reason to play it.
Yeah, I think it's fun and it's different is the reason to play it. Yeah. I would say. I don't think it really adds to the universe necessarily. I do love exploring Ivalice, and it is cool to see some of the areas that are similar, like the Westersand. I think there's a few missions there. And
I will say that I don't think it takes away from FF12. So if you're like a huge fan of FF12 and play this, I don't think it's going to change the way you think about FF12.
No, yeah, absolutely not. I don't feel any
10-2 might do that, but Revenant Wings doesn't touch original FF12. It's so different. Like, it's so separate from the world of Final Fantasy XII. It just kind of uses like the names and the looks of the characters.
Yeah.
For its own ends. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I would say play it just to say you played it, and if that's not something that interests you, then just leave it alone.
Yeah, yeah. If you want to play the RTS Final Fantasy, you can do that.
Yeah.
So Schweiss, I think those are all our questions for Final Fantasy XII Revenant Wings. The next thing we're going to talk about is kind of our overall feelings about the game, the legacy of the game, our listener reviews for the game, and our second opinion.
All right, sweet. Let's dive in. So for me, the legacy of this game is that of nothing, really. This is not one that we commonly hear people talking about. I mean, when people jump on streams and are like, hey, when are you guys going to do blah, blah, blah? Because they, apparently haven't heard the giant section of the show where we tell them exactly what we're going to fucking play week after week. It's fucking with you guys. It's fine. But they're never like, oh, when are you guys jumping on Revenant Wings? Unless they know it's coming. That's the only time anyone's ever asked me about Revenant Wings in real life, in the show, on the stream, any of it. It's not something that really comes up very often. And I don't know if it's because it's on the DS. I mean, the DS was a massive system, but Final Fantasy and Nintendo have been at odds for years, so I don't know why it's so the legacy in my eyes is so like unknown. Like I thought it was a much worse reviewed game than it is. I was thinking mid 60s as far as what I remember seeing, like 67, 68, somewhere around there. And I was like, ooh, man, that's going to be rough after a dirge. But, I'm like, that's going to be a dark fucking time for the show. We're going to be these fucking crotchety old men like, fucking Final Fantasy. It's horrible. But, it was, I guess it was well received for who played it.
It was okay received.
Yeah.
The only thing I ever saw about it in recent memory in like the last 2 years is there was a Game Trailers or GameSpot, not sure. They did the ranking of the worst Final Fantasy games. I think Final Fantasy, one of the mobiles got the worst one, but this was on the bottom 10.
Was Dirge in there too?
I think Dirge might have been, and Final Fantasy XIII was also on there. It wasn't low on there. It was like it was the first one on the list before they started counting down, which I thought was unfair and didn't really look at the series in full scope. It was looking at it as like popular opinion. This game, people
like
hate
a
this
fucking
game.
Popularity contest. Hate those.
I didn't think that was a fair ranking, but I did see that this one was very low, and so I just kind of like dismissed this game as like, oh, that'll be a bad one that we'll have to play.
Yeah.
But overall, I think it's kind of a mixed bag for me as far as the game is concerned, and I think it must be for other players as well. And it was just sort of, it's short enough, or at least it would be if you were leveled in the right place.
If it wasn't sick as fuck.
It's short enough, and it's of course on a handheld device that, you can just kind of play it and forget it.
Yeah.
So it's a forgetful game, and I can see why. I don't really know anybody who's like a gigantic fan of it, or never like seen anybody go, wow, 12 Revenant Wings was really something.
Yeah, it's just
I've never seen that personally.
It's just okay for the most part.
Yeah,
passable. So that's kind of weird. I mean, there's a lot of divisiveness when it comes to the games. Like, there's people who love 8, people who hate 8, people who absolutely adore 13, and then others who just dismiss it as garbage.
Okay, well, you just mentioned 2 that were especially polarized.
They were polarized. I would even say...
I don't think 6 is that polarized. There are some people who don't really understand why it's so well regarded.
But that's about it.
Same with 7. They go, 7's overrated. But that doesn't mean that... That's not an opinion going, 7's a terrible game.
Yeah.
So that's an opinion going, 7's overrated.
And I would say 12 and 11 have the same sort of stigma around them. But this one is... I can understand all the hate for 11. We can, even though in the end, I
like 11.
Yeah.
But
it's fucking, dude, it's... I wonder if it's true love or if it's more like fucking Stockholm syndrome.
I think it's like going to war or some shit.
We're just like convince ourselves, oh no, this is fun. I like being in here for hours and doing the same thing. Yeah. I like it.
So
you get beaten enough and you just keep coming back.
Yeah, this game's gonna be forgotten with time.
Yeah, it is, and that's kind of how the legacy has been, far and wide.
I don't think they pumped a lot into the game, frankly, because they had another company kind of do the work.
Pretty much all of it. Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, it's probably going to be seen that way.
Yeah, definitely. So,
do we have a listener review?
We have a couple, yes.
Okay, all right. It looks like we have one.
Shinra says, pics for proof that you beat it or video footage.
After I said that I just beat the fucking game.
Yeah, Matunica said, this won't be much of a review since I only got to around chapter 4. Are you serious, guys? Come on. I did try to play along with you guys, but life got in the way. I had an IT exam, which I passed, and my wife is now pregnant. Boom, bitches. FF-related name suggestions, please.
Oh, okay. Lloyd. No, I'm kidding.
Just call him Kaleb. It's a great FF name. So far... From what I have seen, the game
Sarah.
Looks okay. Yeah, Sarah. If it's a girl, it's got to be Sarah.
Luna,
Freya, blah, blah, blah.
I think Terra is a beautiful name.
Terra is a good name, yeah.
If it's a girl, if it's a boy.
Locke.
I was just thinking Locke, but I think I might just be thinking Locke because I was thinking of Final Fantasy VI all of a sudden with Terra.
Well, what are you going to name him? Orin? That'd be cool.
You could call him Titus.
Yeah, Titus is a good name.
Though. Like, of course, then he'd get made fun of. Like, Titus.
I don't know. I think Titus is a fucking awesome name.
Titus is pretty.
It's like
there's
powerful.
Titus Andronicus,
Yeah.
which is Shakespeare. But that's with the T.
Yeah. That's what I would. I would make it Titus, but make it a T. Come on, don't put the fucking D.
There you go.
Don't do Titus. Don't do it. So he says he's not really a fan of these type of games. It reminds me of the old Warcraft games, but without the town building part. At least I now know from Joe's hours of ranting across multiple podcasts that when I do revisit this game after I complete 12 in my list, that I might want to get to level 60 before I face the final boss. Thanks for saving me from a lot of butthurt.
Don't go too much past level 60.
Yeah, don't fucking get carried away here,
To
Matunica.
level 60.
60 and just fucking go through, and then you can do the extra stuff if you want. Overall, I'm pleased that Square Enix made the game just for the reaction we got from Joe. Yeah, Square Enix just retroactively went back in time and they're like, put this game in. They went to this third-party company and through a portal and just fucking commanded it.
Oh, that's evil.
You make MOBA! And then they just left. That was all the guidance they got. And the team's like, fuck, what's coming out right now? Ooh, 12. Let's make it off of 12. And they just looked at characters and they made the game and they didn't know the characters at all. Oh my God, this is what happened. Square Enix retroactively came in and
You might
tried
be kind of on the right track.
and tried to destroy our fucking podcast. They tried to dismantle the very fabric of Ultima Final Fantasy. They did the same thing with 11 too, though. So, all right, thank you guys so much for your reviews. We do have some second opinions here.
Second opinions from Amazon.
From Amazon. This one is a 5-star review titled A Warcraft 3 Game on the DS. The good, amazing depth of gameplay for a DS game. Revenant Wings manages to perfectly balance the RTS and RPG elements, creating a great experience. In many ways, this game takes a lot of good things from Warcraft 3 and applies them to the FF universe. Graphics and music are very good, especially the levels with waterfalls look gorgeous. Game speed is on the slow side, no Command and Conquer 3 here, but this works well with a limitation in controls. Having to be in multiple places at once is a bit more difficult on the DS, so I look at this as more of an advantage. Game difficulty varies from normal and hard. I am at 83% of the game, and overall, all the battles felt fair, even if some were more difficult than others. Good luck when you get a little further. Like in any RPG, the key here is to level up a lot, which you can do from the side missions. How cool is this? You can create weapons more powerful than anything you can buy or find. All RPG classes are also represented here, even if they have different names. You can also level up your summons, use high-level spells that can change a battle's outcome, and you can set up a gambit for automatic using of a spell. The bad. For all its depth, it is rather hard to play this game as intended. The main problem here is the size of the screen. Your summons and characters are sprites, and when it's 20 of them on the screen, it is difficult to select the ones that you want.
That's kind of true, yeah.
In this game, even summons have spells, and using them efficiently can help a lot. While the Y button can be used to select groups... What?
No.
I don't fucking
That's not
think
true.
so.
That's not true. You can't select all groups. You can cycle between Vaughn and the other people.
That's right. Yeah, you can. They're them and their characters. Yeah.
Fucking no, man.
I found myself using the hero's spells for most of the game. The ugly. The story starts very, very slow. I would guess that most reviewers that gave up on this game did it because they got bored quickly. It takes 5 to 8 hours before you can start talking strategy/RPG gameplay. So be aware that you need some patience in the beginning. Overall, this is a 5-star game in my book. Despite some minor setbacks, the final package is probably the best RTS RPG on DS. And
is
it
not the only one?
I don't know. And maybe one in many iterations to come. Do yourself a favor and buy this game. Oh, dude. Oh, man.
It's the best, and then insert the most minor sub-genre that you can find.
Yeah.
And on to the most minor system that you can find.
Yeah. So we have a 1-star.
It's the best single-player shooter RPG strategy game.
Dice rolling
gambling strategy game on the Wii mote.
Yeah, not the Wii. The Wiimote.
Oh, what is it? On the Xbox Move or whatever or some shit. It's like, what the fuck?
Woo!
Yeah, it's the best one of that very, very, very specific thing.
Yeah. It's almost like when I was looking at that thing, that fucking book that I found at your sister's house that was the Book of Guinness World Records for Mormons.
Oh, yeah.
I was looking at some of the categories in there and I'm like, this is absurd. Like, this isn't a record. This thing happened one time. That's not a fucking record, man. It happened.
Yeah, you're right. There was something in there that wasn't a record. It was just a random.
Yeah, a record is eating like 60 fucking hot dogs in a minute. That's a fucking record. Someone eating a hot dog isn't a record. It's the amount. It's the nuts. That's what this guy's saying.
Question from Anthony Walker. What was Kaleb doing at Joe's sister house? We were making a movie. And we were using...
You want to be in a movie, baby.
One of the things in one of the locations.
Yeah, we were. So we have a 1-star review here. It's titled, Didn't Like the Game, from Ken Cook. My wife hated this type of game. With all the killing. She played it for about 3 hours, and then I sold it on eBay. And the reply the reply to that happened 5 days ago.
Oh my God.
Said, that is not the game's fault, but yours for not doing the research.
I'm sorry. My wife hated this type of game because of all the killing?
God, what would she do if she...
This is the most amazing review.
Yeah. There's too much killing. These little guys are just getting demolished.
Oh, boy. Oh, that's great.
Oh, man. Too much killing.
He's not reviewing the game.
It's his wife.
It's his wife that played it, and he reviewed the game for her because of too much killing.
She probably couldn't even go on. She probably couldn't even look at the cover anymore. She's just like triggered by the cover, like all the violence, the people just like going flat, the bombs deflating when they die.
Oh, yeah, that much killing. Not even like...
No, it's pretty tame.
Like brutal killing or anything. Like, what is she, like the only game she plays is like the puppy dog games on the
Yeah,
DS?
the Nintendo dogs. Yeah, probably.
Do those dogs get sick and die? There's too much death.
And that'd be pretty dark if they did, dude.
Why? You're taking care of a dog if you don't feed
Well,
it.
Jesus, it's a Nintendo dog.
All right. I don't actually know.
I don't either. I've never even fucking seen them being played.
Okay. Well, Schweiss, that's as far as our audience and as far as our Amazon reviews are concerned. Your final thoughts on Revenant Wings?
Story's pretty weak. Gameplay is fun and interesting enough to keep me going. I did 100% the game, and part of me wants to 100% every game that we come across. I realize that's not completely realistic. Look at 10-2. Look at 10-2. Didn't get the plat for that. I'm very disappointed in myself. I hope to find time at some point to pick it up and grab that, but I enjoyed the game enough. I liked the gameplay enough to continue on after beating it and 100% the thing. I think it's worth your time if you can pick it up for, I don't know, maybe $10. I would say would be a fair price. You could get, I think I got like 45 hours 100%ing the game, which is pretty fast, I would say. That's a quick platinum, essentially. And overall, it has its flaws. Don't go in expecting a great continuation of Final Fantasy XII. Go in expecting something that they just slapped Final Fantasy XII on. And fucking make sure you grind. And if you like MOBAs and a little bit of strategy, this would be a Final Fantasy for you.
I think it's a fun game for the most part. I mean, I have my frustrating moments, obviously, but it's like a really good mobile game. You know, it's sort of in that realm, and technically, it's a game you can move around with. So in a way, it's mobile.
Yeah,
but. I think it would be good on a port on the iOS or on Android or something like that.
What about...
That would be a good way to pick up this game, but it doesn't expand on the FF12 universe whatsoever in any way that's memorable or interesting at all. And so, as a sequel to FF12, totally unnecessary, but as a interesting little experiment as far as like a different type of game in a Final Fantasy universe, albeit sort of a bland and unconnected one.
Yeah.
I do think that it is, if you're not playing anything else, it's worth a try.
If this is the only game in the world that you can play,
It's not
Play
bad.
it. Yeah.
I think it's, if you're like a big Final Fantasy fan and you've just been putting this off, I think it's worth a play.
Yeah, it is. I would agree with that. How about this? How about this for a saying for the show?
How about Revenant Wings 2, like a MOBA, like online MOBA?
That would be fun. I think it would be cool to have a multiplayer of this where we can face off. How about mobile, not mobile? We have cheap, not cheat, and now we're going to add mobile, not mobile. Mobile games are phone games. Mobile games are games that you have mobility with. You can pick up the DS and walk away.
So we had those Austrians on our set. You remember them?
Yeah, I remember the Austrians.
Okay, they call cell phones in Austria, I guess they call them handies. Which
that's not quite what that is over here.
I was like, I made a joke and I was like, that sounds like something else. And then the Austrian girl, she's like, oh, like hand job. And then she laughed.
Oh, nice.
But,
so it is hand job over there, those sick bastards.
Offer? No, but anyway,
wasn't
so they
an
call
offer.
it handy. So maybe we should call it a handy game. I don't know.
Handy.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
maybe try that.
Yeah, maybe not.
Mobile, not mobile.
Yeah.
I would get mixed up. I wouldn't know what the fuck we're talking about.
Mobile, just think mobility.
Okay.
Although I guess mobile
Mobile and
Fuck.
mobile are the same
All right, we're
fucking
probably
word.
gonna-
You're just giving emphasis on different.
Mobile sounds more
Emphasize.
cultured, I would say. Mobile.
Mobile. Yes.
Mobile. That just sounds dumb.
Answer your mobile, please.
Yeah, see. There we go.
Yes. I don't know, man. Either way, like, this is like, it would be a really good cell phone game to pass time.
It would be, yeah. It'd be something you throw a couple bucks in and, kick it up.
So our last thing, Schweiss, that we do,
What do we even do?
rank it against the games in its own universe.
Ooh, man, that's against Final Fantasy XII.
It's against Final Fantasy XII, and there's no other sequels or prequels directly to Final Fantasy XII. We will get to the Evil East games and have to rank those along with them. But as far as Final Fantasy XII, main game and the sequel, is it better or worse than Final Fantasy XII?
Well, considering Final Fantasy XII
I don't even
makes
have to
my
write this one down.
top 4, there's no fucking way this thing is better than Final Fantasy XII. No. Not even close. It was loosely tied to the game, and it's no.
Nope.
Not a fucking chance. No.
Definitely taken a very, very far back second place to Final Fantasy XII.
Yeah, it's like front seat coach for 12, and this one's sitting next to the fucking bathroom. The back of the plane. The bathroom with the door that just doesn't close.
No.
It's just like...
And it's near the end of the flight, too.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's fucking full.
Oh, it's filthy.
Yeah. So there's that. Let's see. Fuck.
That's it, Schweiss. That's our review of Final Fantasy XII Revenant Wings.
It is. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Ultima Final Fantasy. You can support the show on Patreon. We actually got a couple new patrons this week. I want to give them a shout out. Thank you so much to Chris and Richard Apel. We really appreciate you guys' support. We're going to be doing an episode with Richard at some point in the future. We still need to schedule some of those out. You can find all of our Let's Plays and our episodes at youtube.com/Ultima Final Fantasy. Watch us stream the games live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Ultima Final Fantasy. We also live stream most of our episodes as well. Please, guys, give us a call on the phone line. That's an underused tool, and we have been getting some good calls from
Joe from Michigan uses a lot.
Joe from Michigan, and then the Game and Agent Cajun. The One Nation uses it a ton.
385-204-3921. That's 385-204-3921.
I guess a thank you to Krinital for resubbing on Patreon as well.
I don't think we got the notification.
We didn't, so it better be official.
Yeah, thank you, Krinital.
We're seeing your ass in a month, so
are we?
Yeah, he's going to be
going to the thing. Awesome. Yeah, I knew that already. Fuck. All right. So you can tweet me on Joseph DeGollier.
Me at UFF Podcast.
And everything and more can be found at ultimatefinalfantasy.com. Join the forums, and you can check out our other shows, Nude Clan, Nude Clan's amazing.
It is. Guys, go check out Nude Clan. It's fucking awesome, dude. It's like, if you like the unhinged episodes of Ultima Final Fantasy where we just fucking go nuts with the swearing and we're just all over the place, you'll love Nude Clan. Also, we have a lot of RPGs that we've been reviewing for Nude Clan, and since this is a Final Fantasy show, and Final Fantasy is almost always, not today, an RPG series, you'll enjoy a lot of the reviews over there as well. So please check that out. It's a great show. We enjoyed it a lot.
Also, the Godzilla podcast, which will have an new episode up this week at some point, and then Super Sexy Soingen Fanfiction, which is our spin-off show from here. So.
Indeed.
All right. Shit. Did I have anything else?
I don't know, man.
I don't think so. It's weird.
It is weird. Man, it's been a long fucking time since we've done a real review episode. It feels wrong. But
feels wrong, huh?
No, it feels like we're missing something.
We're not.
No, we're not.
It's time to end it. We'll see you guys next week.
And as always, enjoy the FF15 grind.
This has been another production of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast. The show was produced by Joseph DeGolier and Kaleb Schweiss, with music and editing by Joseph DeGolier, parodies and clips from their respective authors, of course. You can get all of our episodes as well as our Let's Plays at ultimafinalfantasy.com. You can also contact us on Twitter at UFF Podcast, as well as our contact page on our website. Be sure to subscribe and review our podcast. Your reviews may get read on the show, and look forward to the next episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast.